Hey everyone, welcome to our very first episode. I'm Garrett and I'm here with Leah. We're really excited to dive into some fascinating history today. Leah, are you ready to go?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Leah, and today we're starting our journey into the story of Washington, D.C. From the indigenous tribes to the founding of the Capitol, there's a lot to unpack. Let's dig into this.
So let's start at the very beginning, like back to the early 1600s. The lands around what we now know as Washington, D.C., were originally inhabited by the Algonquian-speaking Piscataway people.
That's right. They lived here long before any European settlers arrived. By 1699, the Piscataway had established a new settlement near what is now Point of Rocks, Maryland. But let's fast forward a bit to the creation of our capital.
Yeah, let's talk about the 1780s. After the Pennsylvania Mutiny of 1783, where Congress faced security issues in Philadelphia, it became clear that having the capital dependent on any one state was risky.
Right, and that led to a lot of debates about establishing a separate federal district. I mean, can you imagine the turmoil if we'd kept the capital in a state? States had their own interests, and federal security was a big concern.
Totally. That's where key figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison come in. They played crucial roles in deciding where and how the new capital would be established.
Speaking of which, the Compromise of 1790 was pivotal. Essentially, Madison, Hamilton, and Jefferson agreed to establish the capital in the southern United States, which was a major win for the South.
Yeah, and on July 9, 1790, the Residence Act was passed, which approved the creation of the national capital on the Potomac River. President George Washington signed it into law on July 16, 1790. That's pretty cool, right?
It really is. But here's where it gets interesting. They surveyed the federal district's borders in 1791 and 1792, and lo and behold, they decided on its exact location. It's like planning a whole new city from scratch.
And they named the city Washington on September 9, 1791, in honor of George Washington. The federal district itself was named Columbia. Pretty poetic, don't you think?
Definitely. Now here's something to ponder. Did Washington, D.C. really need to be its own federal district? Couldn't another city have served just as well?
I see what you're saying, but I think it was necessary. A federal district ensured neutrality, and it was vital for federal security to not be under any state's control.
I get that, but it could also be argued that the costs and the risks of creating a whole new capital from scratch were enormous. Maybe those resources could have been used differently.
True, but looking back, the unique identity of Washington, D.C. as a federal district has played a crucial role in how the U.S. governs itself. It's a puzzle that's worth thinking about.
Yeah, let's shed some light on the fact that by 1800, Congress held its first session in the unfinished Capitol building. It marked the beginning of Washington, D.C. as the nation's heart. From then on, it's been a key player on the world stage.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up today's episode, think about the bold decisions and debates that shaped Washington, D.C. From the Residence Act to the geographic and political considerations, it's been one monumental project.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to explore about Washington, D.C. Stay curious, and until next time, we'll dive deeper into the next chapter of this fascinating story.